So I'm joined by two of the three members of Cabin Fever, Jess McKay and Kyle Faulkner. We're missing out with Colin, but he's a pretty awesome mandolin player. You guys are all friends were you friends in high school, or where did you guys all meet?
No, so it is kind of funny. I met Colin first. We grew up an hour away from each other. He grew up here in Sarnia and I grew up in London, but we actually met about 3,000 kilometers away from here.
Oh.
We both ended up working at teaching at the same small community school in northern Saskatchewan somehow, and quickly found, mutual friends back in Ontario that we had and a love of music. And so we were out there for just about 10 years together and played in a couple of bands. Colin came back to Ontario a year before my family and I moved back, and in that year he connected with Jess and they started jamming, and before we had even loaded up our moving truck, he told me already that he had a band ready to go for us. So,
and you guys aren't that old, but your band has that old time feel. Like, Jess, you play a stand-up bass, and I mentioned Colin on the mandolin. Kyle, you've got a guitar, and so I heard on this new EP that we're going to talk about, I heard some drums in there. One of you play the drums on this, or did you hire somebody? How did that work?
So for this album, actually, we had a bit of a mix happening. So we worked with our producer, Craig Smith, at Craig's and Bacon Studio. So he did some of the drum track work. And then on some of our features, my husband, Dave from Billiard, actually hopped on and we recorded him playing the drums. So he got to work with Craig in studio as well and lay down those tracks, which was really great. So.
Okay. Let's go back to Craig Smith producing this. That's kind of how you got the name for this new EP. It's Only Forever. I love the story behind this. There's a little bit of pressure there, but it's humorous as well.
Absolutely. Like, whenever it kind of started the first night, so we had, like Jess said, we had a great weekend up there just working and playing music and recording with Craig, and he was fantastic. And but anytime we would get stuck on something, or we'd be, between two options or two takes or whatever it is, he, kind of jokingly, to alleviate the pressure of making this decision, he's like, oh, it's okay, don't forget, it's only forever. And we laughed, the first time it was hilarious. The second time we chuckled, and it kind of became the mantra of the whole weekend. And I think for all three of us, that little phrase was just sticking in the back of our minds. And then after the fact, we started listening to the masters coming out of that recording session, and it was time to think about what we were going to call it. And I think It's Only Forever just felt like the right name.
It's a great name, and it's available wherever you download your music or stream your music. When I started listening to it, I was like, oh, this is catchy. And, you're bobbing along and it's kind of in the background. You're doing whatever. But then I listened to it again and I read along with the lyrics and I'm like, whoa, this is a little dark. Or someone went through a breakup. Especially the first two songs. And then the final song, I understand you kind of took from a Grateful Dead story, the Devil Song?
Yeah, so that's a song actually that I had written a number of years ago when Colin and I were playing with a different band. And we've made little changes in that. But it started out just with kind of the phrase, the end of the chorus or the refrain, that the devil's a friend of the working man. That, for some reason, that just kind of got stuck in my head. I worked on it and it changed a couple of times as I was writing it. And then when I had finished and was happy with it, I kind of realized, I had an old Grateful Dead record called Working Man's Dead. And then the Grateful Dead have a song, Friend of the Devil. And I kind of just thought that was funny that those two things kind of, I guess, in the back of my mind had nested in there and put themselves together into this new catchy phrase or whatever.
Is this about a character too that you made up? This isn't about you or any of you, right?
In fact, often when we play live, because if people haven't heard it, it starts off very bleak. When I was a boy, my mom left home. Usually when my parents are in the audience, I kind of preface the song by saying, "Don't worry, they're right there. She's right there.
Love you, Mom."
Yeah, sorry. I know. I feel bad. A lot of the characters that, you know, it's more interesting to listen to a song about someone who came from a tough upbringing than a pretty regular happy
Well,
one.
even the song about having a bad day every single day, when you just feel like things aren't working out for you all the time. Like they almost do, but then they don't. There's a song about that. I was like, oh my gosh.
Well, and like you said, it's a little misleading when you first listen to it, I think, because it's pretty upbeat and happy sounding. It didn't start off like that. The music matched the tone of the lyrics a little more when I started with that one. And it was almost a little too dark even for us. And so we put a little pep into the step, and it kind of works nicely together. These lyrics about, you know, nothing ever goes right for you, but the song at least makes you want to dance to it. So
you just had your first music video for Hanging On come out, and I was wondering, I'm like, what is this place? Do they have an uncle that collects a lot of stuff, or is this a museum? Where did you guys shoot that?
So that was at a place called M&M Art and Antiques, and ironically, it's right around the corner from Colin's house where we get together and jam every week. And I'd never been there. I'm pretty sure Kyle had never been there, and I don't think Colin had been in. And one day was like, I need to check this place out. And then went in and spoke to Mike, who is phenomenal. And I guess one thing led to another, and Mike opened up his space very graciously to us, and we got to go and hang out there. It was a real blustery, stormy night, and we just kind of stowed away in this like amazing treasure trove of nostalgia and history and artifacts, and it was just a really cool space to be able to put a different spin on our music. I think our goal was to do a photo shoot and get some little snippets for things like Canva and Spotify. Mm-hmm. And our videographer, Will Ronholm, he has fantastic artistic vision, and he had such a great time that he's like, hey, let's check this out. And he put together like a music style video, and here we are. So we're very grateful to both Mike and to Will for opening their space and capturing, you know, us, I think, in a really great sense. So we've had a lot of fun with that. A couple weeks before, I'd been looking for these little figurines out of my grandma's house. It was a piece of nostalgia, they're little glass figurines out of red rose tea. And I was so disappointed because I couldn't find them at my grandma's house. It was like one of the things I wanted from her. But I walked into this antique shop, and there was a whole shelf of like all of these sets, and so I was like, this was supposed to be it was really cool. When you think of an antique shop, I don't know what comes to your mind, but I think of this like dark, dusty, dingy old place that's just like stuffed with things and you can't move around. Mm-hmm. But the way this place is laid out is like, it's beautiful. It's just it's a museum.
Yeah, it's like a time capsule almost. Mm-hmm.
But there was like games and stuff to play. Like, wasn't there like you guys were playing foosball or something in there? And
table hockey, like the original table hockey set that came out. Like I was saying to these two, I'm a big fan of Stuart McLean and like the Vinyl Cafe on CBC, and he has a story that he's talking about, you know, when the main character is a kid, and this is the exact table hockey game that he's describing that he bought from like the hardware store in Cape Breton kind of thing. Like, yeah, it was really cool. Some of the stuff that was in there was really, really cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah, in a way too, the weather kind of helped us with that. Our original plan had been to take some shots in that place and then get outside into nature and take some photos out there, and then further down the road, there was an old barn. We were getting, you know, a couple of typical indie folk band type music photo sets, but because, like Jess said, it was quite a storm happening. It was pouring rain, and so it kind of trapped us inside, which then gave us the time and gave us the opportunity to turn it into something a little bigger. I think Jess was a little damp because we took too long getting through the door, and she was last in line, so she was stuck just out of the overhead shelter there, but
it didn't melt. It's okay.
Yeah, and actually how I first saw you guys was at the Petrolia Hard Oil Music Festival, and you guys were battling a storm there and came on after that.
Yeah, we have a bit of a theme, I guess, with that. Yeah, that day was crazy because we were on stage sound checking, and then with the lightning, everybody had to clear right out, and we sat in the green room for a little while, and then got the word, okay, we can try again. We went back out there, and then there was another lightning flash, and we had to put that off, and then they let us know, we're pushing everything because we had Treble Charger and Sam Roberts' band coming up after us that night. And so really, by the time the weather cleared, it was kind of, we're going to hit the stage and figure this out on the fly and just pray that the rain stays off us for an hour. But yeah, it turned out great that night.
Are you guys doing this full time? You had mentioned that you and Colin met teaching. Are you still a teacher?
Yeah, right now we're still working in the area, and so we're this is our, whatever you want to call it, side hustle, second gig. This is our passion.
Passion project, yeah.
Our passion project, yeah. See what the future holds for sure, but it's nice, especially with the summer season coming up. We're all pretty wide open coming up in a couple months here, so it gives us a real opportunity to hit the road. We're looking forward. We're doing a little mini tour around Ontario before we play at the Four Winds Music Festival this summer.
Oh, cool. And you just sold out a theater in Forest, last week or the week before?
Yeah, on the 26th of April, we were very, very honored to be invited to be a part of the Canetto concert series. So the Canetto Theater in Forest is, I think, one of the world's longest operating movie theaters, which is pretty great. And we were the final of 4 concerts in the series, and so grateful to sell out and have a packed audience. And everybody there was really fantastic. Jesse Grandmont invited us to come and play, and then Ruth Ellman and the rest of the Kiwanis Club of Forest were really supportive of making all that happen, so it was really awesome.
I also hear that you have like a dozen more songs that you want to show to the world eventually. So we got an album in the works?
Yeah, that's the next big project that we're starting to put together in our minds, is what that'll look like. But the nice thing, because when we got started, we had been playing together a few months before COVID hit, and so that gave us quite an extended period of time at home to kind of kick off the songwriting process. And over the last few years, the songs seem to just come a little easier. I think as we develop our sound and kind of find our groove with each other, these ideas just keep coming. And yeah, like we've reached a point now where instead of when we started out, we would play some of our favorite covers and then sprinkle a few originals in. Now it's the opposite. Now we're able to have a full set of our original music with 1 or 2 of our favorite covers. And I think looking at recording a full-length project is something that we're excited to do in the near future.
So are you guys documenting this stuff? Do you have, people take in video and pictures and...
It's interesting, actually, at the Canetto, we tried something and it turned out really cool. So we had talked about bringing in a photographer and a videographer, and then I'm sorry, Jess, I can't remember if it was Jess or Colin who had the idea for the phone. Was that Colin? I can't remember.
I'll toss it to him. Yeah.
That's really nice of you. Since he's not here, I would have taken all the credit.
And so instead of the old, what people used to do at weddings where they put the disposable cameras on every table, we had an old iPhone that we told the audience what we wanted to do, and we passed it through the crowd. So throughout the show, people recorded video clips, recorded themselves, giving messages to us, took pictures of things. And then right after the show, we were able to kind of string all that together into a big montage to kind of commemorate the evening. So that was a pretty cool idea. It turned out pretty cool.
That is really cool. And let's go back a bit. You said that you were playing covers together. Is that how it all kind of started? And is Cabin Fever, is that because of COVID? Because you were locked up?
No. So that we joke sometimes that we almost maybe jinxed everybody into being locked up together because it came about organically before any of that. And yeah, at the time, little did we know that everybody in the world would be suffering from cabin fever. I know.
The first time we played were March 5th and 6th, I think, 2020, and then the next week was kind of when
COVID.
everything shut
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
So,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Well then, appropriate name, I guess. You'll remember it.
Yeah, we kind of missed a big marketing opportunity. a little too early in those days. But yeah, no, it started out. So like I said, Colin and I had played in a few bands together when we were out west.
Like cover bands, or were you making your own music?
Mostly cover bands. So we had a band with a couple of other teachers. That's how it all got started. We would play we'd play dances at the local curling rink for Christmas parties and curling bonspiels and stuff, and you know, just typical classic rock covers, and you know what you'd hear at a pub night or whatever. And then from there, that was actually my kind of introduction to whatever you want to call the music that we're playing, the folk, country, bluegrassy kind of music. Is another musician out there, Pat Hanley, kind of recruited us to join. He had a vision of what he wanted to do, and so we ended up putting together a group called the Roaring Borealis that played more, I would say, even more old-timey and bluegrassy type music. That was a big departure for both Colin and I. Like, we had been rock bands our entire lives, basically. And when we were coming back and Colin told me we had a band here, he said, I'm going to drum, and I've got this girl, Jess, she's going to play bass. He didn't tell me she'd never played bass before that, but that was a detail he left out. He goes, and you're going to play electric guitar and sing. And so I already, you know, my mind was working on all these cool rock covers we were going to do. And then by the time we got back to Ontario, he said, no, I think we're actually going to play like folk country kind of stuff. Okay. And then Jess played bass on her electric bass for a little while, and then we twisted her arm into going into the upright.
It's really neat to have Cabin Fever playing music in our area and all around Ontario this summer. So do you have room for bookings? Can people still book you?
Yeah, we're looking for a couple more spots to fill in some dates on our tours, but we actually, I think, just put out a post today on social media looking for people who might want to host us in a house concert, or maybe they've got a unique backyard or a cool living room or a campsite or something. So we're open to all of that kind of stuff as well. We kind of, you know, tout ourselves as being comfortable from the festival stage to the intimate cabin concert and everything in between. So
okay. Well, we'll keep up with you on your social media and your website, and people can book through there, I imagine. And it was really great talking to you. Thanks for taking the time with me today.
Awesome. Thank you very much to you as well, Dana. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was a blast.